Processing 1099s using Aatrix and Sage 300. This change applies to versions 2021 Service Pack 7, 2022 with product update 4, or 2023 with the latest product update, I believe, 1. You can confirm your version by clicking on Help, clicking on About up here, and then clicking on System Info to confirm that you've got the latest product update for your version. So in order to process 1099s in Sage, the first thing I would do is I would just check your company profile and make sure that all the information is inside and entered. So we'll just click on this. You want to make sure that the tax ID for your company is entered and that the legal name is correct. You want to make sure that the city and state are entered. You want to make sure that the state is not spelled out. So for Maryland, you would enter MD rather than MARYLAND. You also want to make sure that the correct contact information for 1099 processing, as well as the correct phone number, is entered in your company profile, because all of that information is going to be read in to the system. So this example shows a series of 1099 non-employee compensation for the year 2022. So once we've verified that, the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure your vendors have the right tax IDs, which if you need a report that can verify that, I can provide that for you. So now we're going to go into accounts payable. We're going to go to AP vendors. We're going to look at the 1099 inquiry for 2022. So you're going to type in the year. I'm just going to review all codes, whether it's miscellaneous or NEC. I'm going to click go. So you can see in the sample data there's not a lot, but there are a handful of 1099. Code 7 is the NEC, and code 3 is other income for the miscellaneous. So anyway, I verified that. I'm happy with the numbers, and I'm just going to close that. Now I'm going to go to AP vendor report. So I'm going to go to 1099 filing. So this is a new window in Sage. Now, if you're hosted with ADSS, there will be an Aatrix update every morning. So you're never going to get this automatic update prompt. If you are hosted on your own server, however, you might get a prompt to update your 1099 or your Aatrix forms. If that's the case, you're just going to click on automatic update and let it do that. That way you always have the very latest Aatrix forms in your system. So anyway, here we are. We've got your company profile, and we've got to make sure that the state is correct. And then we're going to click on process. Okay, so now the Aatrix wizard is going to open up as soon as it's reading in the information from Sage. So the first time you run this, it's going to ask you some questions. So the first thing is it's asking if you want to just do a test drive or if you want to do your actual 1099 processing. I'm going to choose to process my 1099s live. I'm going to click next. It's going to verify my tax number. You confirm whether it's an employee ID or a social. This is an employee ID in this example. Now it's asking if you have single or multiple data files for this employee ID. If you've got multiple Sage databases for one employee ID or employer ID, then you would say, yes, I use multiple, but in most cases, you're going to have one Sage database for each EIN, and it'll be no, I use a single EIN. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to have you review your address information. You can put your email in here. If the email actually had been entered in the employee profile, it would have been there. But anyway, we'll just say at samplecompany.com, and then we're going to click next. So what kind of tax preparer are you? I'm filing for my company or employer. That's probably what you're doing. So you're going to click next. And then it's going to prompt you for withholding information. So this is really only going to apply if you have taken withholdings for any of your 1099 recipients. Most people doing this do not have that situation. So what you're going to do is you're basically going to just go right through this, and it's going to warn you that that's okay. So it's saying there's no account number. We don't have one for California, so I'm just going to cancel. It's going to warn me, but that's okay. And the reason is it's okay is because I haven't actually done a withholding for either of these states. If you had withheld, then you would have tax IDs for those states. So once we've done that, it asks, do I have any recipients who have elected to receive only electronically? I'm going to say no, and that's probably your case as well. Truncation for recipients. Copies, do you want to truncate? I recommend that you do truncate to keep those Social Security numbers confidential. Do I want to print zeros? Probably not, or yes, either way. We'll just click next. And so here we are. Now it's reading in the Sage data into the Aatrix worksheet. So what happens now is we are now going to be verifying our information. So the first thing is verify your tax IDs. Make sure there are tax IDs. Now, unfortunately, Aatrix does not receive the information from Sage that tells us that this is an employer ID versus a Social Security. So it's assuming it's formatting all the numbers of Social Security. So you're going to actually need to know that and fix this at this point. So this one is an EIN, Employee ID, Federal Employer ID number. So I'm clicking on that and see how that corrects the format of this field. So I'm clicking on that and clicking on that. This one I'm just going to say I know that's a Social Security number. So you're going to want to have that information on hand when you do this. Then you're going to click next. And so now we are verifying the EIN type. So it's kind of redundant. So we can just click on next. You can see you can scroll back and forth and read the information here. I'm going to click next. So now it's reviewing recipients' names. So if it's an individual, it should come up correctly here. You can also enter the first and last name here. That is not read in from Sage because in the vendor files, first and last name are not kept separate like they are in payroll, for example. So I'm just going to click next. I'm happy with my names. And then it's going to prompt, okay, it's not happy with something. So let's see what the problem is. So I'm going to go back here. I'm actually not sure what the problem is there. So sometimes it's not obvious. So I'm going to I just click back previous to go back to the screen. I'm going to click next again. All right, so maybe I had a space in there, but anyway, it's accepting it now. So now we're going to verify the addresses, and assuming that they're all correct in Sage, you can just keep going. The system will verify and make sure that the state abbreviation is correct. So if you have the whole word like, I don't know, Maryland, it's going to read in wrong, So anyway, you click next once you're okay with that. And now we are verifying the income boxes. So this is box 1, non-employee compensation for the NEC form. So basically, assuming that it was correct in Sage, it should be correct here as well, but it does allow you to fix it. So if there was a problem, you could actually change it in this field here. But we're going to say it's okay. I'm going to hit next. The final thing is the filing state. So once again, if your information is correct in Sage, it's also going to be correct in your filing state. But this gives you a chance to correct that if you need to. I'm going to click next. And if there's any withholding, it's going to show up here. Most people do not do withholding for vendors, but if you do, you're going to want to make sure that it's correct. Okay, so we're going to say next. And now it's going to open up the Aatrix interface. So we're actually going out to the Aatrix website now with this series of wizards. And so it gives you the options for filing, e-filing, which I personally think is a good deal. The other options would be I want to print my recipient copies, or I want to, e-file my federal or, whatever. Anyway, I would recommend that you just e-file because you're letting them handle it for you, and that's a good thing. So we're going to click next. You can purchase a PDF archive, that's optional. So that's just a yes, no. I'm just going to say no, thank you. These are the states where I'm going to file, okay, based on my recipients. And so now it shows here's what it's going to do. California, it's going to do all the summary for us. We don't have to worry about lining up forms because Aatrix prints this out for us, which I think is great personally. So now I'm just going to click next, and now it's going to come up, and here is my federal form. So it's loading my federal form. If you want, you can print a copy. You can see that these forms, you don't have to line them up because they're all right here. The year is read in, coming from Sage, and so on. So that's the federal. I'm going to pretend that I printed that. I'm going to click next. I'm going to say no because I really don't want this on my printer. So that's my federal. The next one is going to be the 1096. So again, that comes right from the product. And we're going to say next. Say no, I don't want to print it physically. So now it's going to bring up California because I had 2 vendors in California. So that comes up. I'm just going to say next. I'm not actually going to print it. Now it's going to do the 1096 for California. Click next. I'm not going to print it. And then it's going to do the Missouri form. So it does all your state forms based on what you got. And there's my summary of my 1099s with the grand total. I'm not printing. And then this is the payer. This is your copy. So you can see it's 4 per page. It has Chloride Systems, Donald and Donald. It's got each separate vendor here. So you would print that. That's going to be for your records. You probably want to print that or at least do a PDF. And then I'm going to hit next. I'm not actually going to print it. And then the filing e-center comes up. And if you don't have a login with Aatrix, you're going to need to create one. And you're going to need to set yourself up with a login. So once you set yourself up with a login, you can click on this link and it'll allow you to create a login for Aatrix. You'll be setting up a login for your company. It's going to store all your records. You can enter your bank information so for automatic paying and filing. For if you have withholdings, it'll pay your withholdings or it'll file your withholdings, sorry, not pay your withholdings. but it'll charge your bank for the fee. So once you get in there, you need to set all that up, and that is basically it for Aatrix with accounts payable with Sage 300. Please call me at 410-296-5098 if you have any questions.